For the 7th consecutive year, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series drivers have assembled here at the historic Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. Their task, to decide which manufacturer has both the muscle and the magic to conquer the Milwaukee Mile. Dodge dominated early this season, posting an 8-race sweep. Then the Bowtie Brigade broke into the winner's circle and have notched 2 in a row. Today, Ford is looking to rekindle its previous successes here at Milwaukee. Hired gun Kurt Busch returned from the Winston Cup ranks. Last year's rookie sensation won here at Milwaukee and is ready today to carry the blue oval back to victory lane.
Well, not only did Kurt win that race, he also sat on the pole, had an awesome rookie season, and it launched him into the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. But now he returns to defend not only the win, but help Roush Racing dial in their 2 Ford trucks, while Hosfeld and Hosley again are watching from the sidelines. Kurt, you're an outsider looking in. Can these Fords sit in victory lane?
Well, they've had some opportunities to win this year, and it's a matter of the trucks getting set up properly. They've got great guys working on these trucks. We've got a good shot today. It's just a matter of opportunity meeting preparation.
Well, last week, Greg Biffle gave it a shot. Now let's see if Kurt Busch can indeed give Ford their first win of the season.
Well, those Fords will have to get by a couple of awfully tough Dodges, and one of those is Ted Musgrave in the Mopar #1. Ted's a 3-time winner this season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but folks, when we come to Milwaukee, the main word is Musgrave. The fans are here to watch you, Ted. Do you have a strong enough truck to get to victory lane today?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. It's pretty good. The Mopar truck's pretty fast, but we have that strong Chevy up front. We don't know what they're doing right now, but if it's aerodynamics or what, the flatter the racetrack, the faster he gets.
Well, Ted Musgrave has been great this season. He's a former winner in the ART-GO Series right here at Milwaukee. He should be strong today, but there is a Chevy at the top of the field.
And for the second week in a row, Jack Sprague's Chevrolet sits on the pole. Sprague, who has never finished outside of the top 10 here at Milwaukee. You've been dominant all weekend, fastest in practice, quick time. Can you dominate this race today?
Boy, it sure would be nice if we could, but I tell you, the guy's done a great job. The Net Zero Chevrolet's fast. It's been fast since we unloaded it. Got to get to the end, you know. I mean, last week was very unfortunate, and it was just one of them deals, but these guys have paid a lot of attention to this truck. It's fast, and we're just going to go out here and do the best we can, hopefully win this thing.
Well, it'll be tough to beat flat track Jack.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents NASCAR. Today live from the historic Milwaukee Mile at the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. It's the 7th running of the Craftsman Truck Series GNC Live Well 200. After 10 events, Scott Rigg's point lead has grown to 53 over Joe Ruttman. Impressive rookies Ricky Hendrick and Travis Quapple sit 4th and 6th. And Dennis Setcher's win last Saturday at Memphis moves him into the top 10 for the first time this year. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, along with Winston Cup and Busch Series veteran Phil Parsons. We're so glad you could join us. Phil, we are 10 races into the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series 2001 season. Dodge won 8 in a row. Chevy has won back-to-back, but Ford has not won since the finale last year on October 28th at Fontana, California. That was Kurt Busch. Now, today, Kurt Busch is back driving for Jack Roush, where he won here a year ago, and also with strong Ford efforts from Rick Crawford and Terry Cook. What will it take for Ford to get into victory lane here today?
Well, Doc, not only for Ford, but for the Dodge and the Chevy guys, they're going to have to get this truck turned in the center of the corner. These corners are really flat, really long. They got to get them turned. But I think the biggest problem these guys are going to have, all of them, is catching that 24 truck.
That indeed could be a problem. There are 2 Fords starting in the top 5, led by Kurt Busch, who won it here a year ago. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Mopar starting grid and wave the green flag. Our ESPN coverage of exciting NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action from the Milwaukee Mile is being brought to you by Purolator. Pure oil now, pure oil later. By Tractor Supply. Whether you have 1 acre or 1,000, Tractor Supply will help you get the job done. And by Mopar, parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles from the dealerships that sell and install them. That's the Mopar difference. Take a look at our Mopar starting grid. As we mentioned, Jack Sprague's 3rd pole of the year. Now he is the all-time winningest pole leader in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series history with 16. He is flanked by Joe Ruppman, who starts outside front row for the 4th time in the last 5 races. There is Wisconsin native Ted Musgrave, a 3-time winner, and last year's winner here, last year's Rookie of the Year, Kurt Busch, back in the Eldon Ford. How about Terry Cook, a strong Ford? We'll talk about his new sponsorship in a little bit. And beside him, leading rookie contender Ricky Hendrick. Back in row 4, Travis Quapple, who runs second in the Rookie of the Year point standings, and Lance Norrick, who led 5 laps last week in Memphis. A great run for Lance. How about our points leader, Scott Riggs, inside row 5, and coming off his best finish of the year, again another top 5 for Coy Gibbs in the MB&A Chevrolet.
Row 6, we have Carlos Contreras, who finished 11th in this race last year and has only started at Milwaukee, and Matt Crafton, 7th fastest in Happy Hour. Row 7, we have Rick Crawford on the inside, 3rd here in this race in 1999, and John Wood finished 14th last week in his first race for Jack Roush. Row 8, Billy Bigley on the inside, 8th fastest in yesterday's Happy Hour, and Dennis Setzer, last week's winner at Memphis, up to 10th in the points. Row 9, we have Bobby Dowder, a former pole sitter in Busch competition here at Milwaukee, and Ken Schrader finished 2nd in this very same truck at Darlington. Row 10, Jim Englebright, Jelly Belly truck back, Southwest Tour winner last week at Sears Point, and Jimmy Hensley, 3 top 10s here, including a 2nd in 1998.
Back in row 11, Randy Tolsma sat on the outside front row here last year and finished 2nd. Had a great shot at winning. It runs awfully well. Lance Hooper, the former Western West Series champion. There's Willie T. Ribbs in the Mopar Dodge, and Brad Miller, short track ace from here in Wisconsin, making his first start of the year in NASCAR trucks. Tom Carey Jr. back in trucks, glad to have him back. And Larry Gunzelman, the Western West Series veteran. Row 14, making his 2nd start in a row, Brian Rose and Eric Jones. As you look at the rest of our starters here for the GNC Live Well 200, 200 laps on a 1-mile racetrack here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a historic racing facility. Over $400,000 up for grabs today in the 7th running of the GNC Live Well 200. Now let's meet the 5 drivers who will carry our onboard cameras here today.
Hi, I'm Jim Englebright. You're riding along with me in the 02 Jelly Belly Chevrolet, so enjoy the ride.
Hi, I'm Kenny Schrader, and you're riding along with me in the number 52 Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet Silverado.
You're riding with me, Scott Riggs, in the number 2 Team ASE CarQuest Dodge.
Hi, I'm Ted Musgrave, driving a number 1 Dodge Mopar Parts truck. Come on right along with us and see if you like this. I'll make it exciting for you.
Hi, I'm Jack Sprague, and you better hang on because you're riding with me in the number 24 Net Zero Chevrolet.
And those are our onboard camera carriers. How about some news from the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series? Cooking with Power. Terry Cook announces yesterday a brand new 6-race sponsorship with Power Stroke Diesel. The fine folks from International Truck and Engine Corporation coming on board. How about Busch is back? Kurt Busch back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He won from the pole here a year ago. Dodder Dollars. Next week, a sponsorship for Bobby Dodder, runner-up last year in Western West competition. We are told that Price Chopper will come on board his Gene Christensen-owned truck. And, of course, John Monson, the new crew chief for Lance Norrick, who had a great run last week in Monson's debut at Memphis. Glad to have you with us here at the Milwaukee Mile.
Jack Sprague out to a good lead coming off turn number 2. Leads Joe Ruttman down into turn number 3. These guys are going to fight for the bottom of the racetrack, Doc.
It is a flat racetrack, banked 9 1/4 degrees, and the turns essentially flat. There is Sprague's Net Zero Platinum Chevrolet. Take a look at Kurt Busch getting a charge from the inside from Ted Musgrave, the Wisconsin native. Musgrave, this is the closest thing to a home racetrack for Ted Musgrave, who grew up in Franklin, Wisconsin. His dad, Elmer, a multi-time competitor here back in the early 60s, driving for the Factory Mercury team. Good side-by-side action. The Dodge of Musgrave and the Eldon Ford of defending race winner Kurt Busch.
This is definitely a 2-groove racetrack, Doc, but you don't want to get too far outside the 2nd groove because you have loose stuff up over the marbles, we call them, and you'll take a slide for life. There, right there. That was what we were talking about right there. Oh, Carlos Contreras, tough break into the wall. You can see the damage on the rear of his truck.
Heavy impact for Carlos Contreras in the Hot Wheels Dodge. Carlos Had trouble last week, not of his own doing, was involved in an incident and the whole back of his truck was taken off. He was tapped from behind, and now you see some what looks to be sheet metal damage in the left front and left rear of that Hot Wheels Dodge. First caution coming out here on lap number 3.
Really tough break for Carlos Contreras. Really qualified 11th, and we're very optimistic about this race.
Bang.
Take a look here at what happened. You see there's Carlos. It looks like on the outside there. We saw earlier Matt Crafton in that yellow truck. Carlos was on the outside, got in the loose stuff, and around he went. There could have been some contact before that, but tough break. They were very optimistic again about this race. Howard Comstock said they were getting better and better and better. Howard's Carlos's crew chief, and get better and better. This is a brand new truck.
Brand spanking new race truck. Great crowd on hand here at the Milwaukee Mile enjoying NASCAR action, Craftsman Truck Series style. Back in just a moment. Back in West Allis, Wisconsin, just outside of Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Mile. First caution flag today flies when Carlos Contreras' Hot Wheels Dodge has some contact with the wall. We'll show you what happened just a moment ago.
We've already had some contact. You see Matt Crafton on the outside go through the screen, and Carlos was sideways when we saw it, and around he went. Again, there's not much grip up there. Once you get up about 2 grooves up.
Let's go down to their pits and Amy.
Well, there is a lot of left rear quarter panel damage to the Hot Wheels Dodge, but more importantly, the dry brake area where they add the fuel to the race truck is severely damaged. That's where their concern is right now. Carlos cannot continue to come out here and try to be competitive as far as just getting points at this point if they cannot properly get fuel into that truck. So they're going to work on that area a little bit. It's possibly going to be going some laps down here. They're going to stay here, Howard Comstock said, until they have it right.
And then you see the tape job working there on the back with the Hot Wheels crew. Carlos came into this race 15th in the point standings after that disappointing 27th place finish at Memphis last Saturday. He finished 9th at Texas. His best run came early in the year at Homestead, where he finished 7th here in the Hot Wheels Dodge.
As Amy mentioned, they have to actually stay there and get that truck right because they have to maintain a minimum speed after they have some damage. And if they go out and they just patch the thing together and the toe ends off or whatever and he can't maintain a certain speed, NASCAR will actually black flag him and tell him that he cannot come back out. So they have to get it right to start with.
Getting set for the green flag, and Dion Henske will wave it. And Jack Sprague will lead him down and caution out for 3 laps.
Good jump by Kurt Busch on the outside. They jumped on the outside, and Ted Musgrave is able to make the pass for 3rd position. You have to pass on the outside on a restart and until you get to start-finish line. And Kurt was able to get the jump on Ted, got on the outside, and beat him down into turn number 1.
Kurt Busch, if you just joined our telecast, Kurt Busch is back in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in that 99 Eldon Ford. And here goes Musgrave looking to chop off Busch here going to the turn 1. But Kurt says, nah, I'm going to jam this swaddle down on this big Roush motor. Gotta hang on. Here comes Musgrave back on the inside.
This racetrack, that is the best way to pass at this racetrack. Try to get underneath somebody coming off the turn, just like Ted Musgrave's doing right now, and try to beat him down into the next turn.
And that is a battle for 3rd position, by the way. Sprague is the leader. Ruppin is 2nd. You're watching 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Now from the onboard camera, Mopar onboard camera for Musgrave looking back at Busch. Behind him is Terry Cook. 1 is Musgrave, 99. The Eldon Ford is Busch. Then comes Cook in the K Automotive. Soon to be the Power Stroke Diesel sponsored Ford for Terry. Behind him is Travis Quapple. There is Terry Cook in the 29. They had made an announcement yesterday that Power Stroke Diesel folks coming on board for 6th race. Starting next week at Kansas City all the way through Chicago in August.
Great thing for the K Automotive team. They've been so good all year long, and they just desperately needed something on the quarter panels of that truck, and just great to see Power Stroke get on board.
Terry Cook's very first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series start came at this racetrack back in 1996. Now riding along with points leader Scott Riggs. Scott's being shown back in 7th position, trying to work on the rookie, the Cat Reynolds Chevrolet of Travis Quapple. There's Riggs, already has gained 2 spots.
Talked to Scott yesterday. That right there in the center of the corner we talked about earlier, that was Scott's problem all day yesterday. And I talked to him even through qualifying. He said, I don't know what to do. The thing just won't turn in the center. Talked to Timmy Cahuth, his crew chief, this morning. They said, we got it better. Scott thinks we're pretty good.
He ran here last year driving for David Hodson, talking about Riggs. Started back in 21st, was very patient, ended up getting a top 10 finish. Finished 9th, a lap down a year ago. Comes back here, though, as the points leader with a much more competitive truck and a little better sponsorship than what they had last year. They had next to nothing on that truck a year ago.
Well, I think the qualities you talk about are why we see Scott Riggs in this truck. He took with maybe not the very best equipment last year, was able to run up front with it, good, consistent top 10 runs, and that's what Jimmy Smith saw.
I blew that one. Sorry.
The Ford truck, Bobby Hamilton Jr. goes behind the wall. That's the one of the Dana Dodges. Out of the Bobby Hamilton Senior stable, they still have 2 trucks on the racetrack. Joe Ruttman running in 2nd spot, and of course Willie T. Ribbs back in 19th position.
We saw Scott try to work his way underneath. Travis Quabbel coming off turn 2 was able to do that, but Travis held his own on the outside, which is pretty difficult to do in turn 3 and 4. Again, Scott's on the inside, but on the bottom of the racetrack. Travis trying to hang tough on the outside, but he's going to lose this battle. Scott's going to get the position.
Travis Quapple's got a lot of folks from here in Wisconsin watching him. He grew up about an hour away from here in Janesville, Wisconsin. Cut his teeth in the Artco Series, now the NASCAR Remax Challenge Series. So would like to run well here in the home state of Wisconsin. 13 laps are complete. The guy they're chasing, who else? Jack Sprague. The trucks are headed to Kansas City for the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts 250. Yes, Kansas City, here we come. The ultra-modern 1.5-mile Kansas Speedway play host to NASCAR's Craftsman Truck Series. We'll have all the action next Saturday, July 7th at 1 Eastern Time only on ESPN. And we are going to Kansas City, and boy, what a great crowd we'll have out there next weekend for NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action, as well as the Indy Racing League cars that'll be there. And we are under caution here at Milwaukee for the 2nd time today due to the incident with Eric Jones coming out just a lap ago. On lap 15, Eric, the driver from Iowa, had a little close encounter of the concrete kind.
You see him working on the inside of Jonathan Price there in the 81 truck. Looks like he gets a little bit loose right there. Lost a little bit of air off the spoiler, got a little bit loose, and around he went. Great job by the 58 truck of Chris Horn to get by without any damage and made some pretty hard contact with the outside wall.
A little different angle now on the Safelite Auto Glass Chevy. Up across the racetrack, just getting by, is Chris Horn, and there is Eric Jones out of Granger, Iowa, into the outside wall. Kenny Schrader, the Federated Auto Parts Chevrolet on pit road. Kevin Buskirk and company making a significant chassis adjustment there for Kenny Schrader. Ray, what's going on?
Well, Jerry, they're definitely loose. That's what Schrader's been saying, so they decided to go back here to the right side and see what they could do with the spring rubber there. We've got a lot of guys on the radio talking about being loose. Sprague said he's loose in. Ruttman said he's loose in the middle. So apparently the chassis condition early on today here is definitely loose for all these guys. So that's what they're trying to do with Schrader here by changing spring rubber in the right rear.
You know, Phil, it has been essentially warm all weekend, but late yesterday, when they ran happy hour, was a little bit cooler, and everyone was working on trying to do what you talked about in the open, getting the trucks to turn in the middle of the corner. I wonder if they may have overcorrected.
Exactly right. This racetrack kind of has buffaloed me a couple times. I thought I had real good cars, and I get them freed up in happy hour, then start the race too loose.
Back with the green flag in just a moment. And just about a half a lap ago, the green flag waves for Jack Sprague, who leads Joe Ruttman and Ted Musgrave down into turn 3. Lap 20 of 200. Glad to have you back with us at the Milwaukee Mile. I'm Jerry Punch along with Phil Parsons, Amy East, and Ray Dunlap, bringing you live NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action.
Jack's led every lap of this race, but Joe Ruttman has hung in there pretty well. I talked to Joe this morning, and he said, hey, I think we're a little bit closer than we were last week at Memphis to Jack. He said, but we just can't quite run with him, but he's really doing a pretty good job.
Joe Ruttman has a pretty good history of running races at this racetrack. Has won here in other short track series. There's the Milwaukee Electric Tools Ford for Rick Crawford, his sponsor. Their plant not far from the racetrack here. Of course, he's been here all week long with some show trucks and race trucks, visiting the employees over there, doing some pit stop competition over at the plant in Brookfield. Rick Crawford in the 14th. There's the 75 of Billy Bigley, being shown back in 11th spot right in front of Crawford.
Big win last week for Billy Bigley in the ARCA race at Memphis the night before our race.
Outstanding effort in the ARCA Remax Challenge. What a great race the ARCA cars put on at Memphis last week. Great finish where they split it between he and Rick Corelli on the white flag lap, and he beats Corelli by half a car length. Good show for the ARCA guys. Here's Ricky Hendrick in a GMAC Chevrolet right in front of Coy Gibbs. So a couple of sons, a young Hendrick and a young Gibbs, son of Rick Hendrick and son of Joe Gibbs, battling for position. That's for 9th and 10th.
I tell you, Ricky has been good all year. We know that. We talk about him every week. But Coy Gibbs and that team, Gary Showalter, the crew chief, they're getting better and better each and every week. They were in the top 10 for the last 3 races in a row.
Phil, I think part of the reason why that team has improved so much lately is the fact that they've done an extensive amount of testing. Coy Gibbs has been in that racetrack just about every day the last couple of weeks. They just went to Caraway Speedway and did an extensive amount of testing this week, and a week ago they were at Lakeland. So while a lot of other teams are just sitting around working on their trucks trying to make them better, Coy's actually in the seat trying to make the driver better.
And apparently it's paying off, Ray, because he's making a move on the inside of Ricky Hendrick. Coy Gibbs ran 400 laps at Caraway Speedway, which is a half-mile track in Asheboro, North Carolina on Monday. And that does pay off. That seat time pays off.
It sure does. And there's no substitute for it. You see him get a little bit loose there, kind of push Ricky up to the high side. Lost a little bit of air on the spoiler. The truck on the inside will lose some air on the spoiler, but they're still side by side. There's no substitute for seat time, and Coy Gibbs is getting a lot of it this year.
Coy Gibbs, a 5th place finish at Dover. He finished 7th at Texas. Look on the inside. Bigley makes that classic short track move. Here comes Crawford on the inside.
Same situation. He got a little bit loose, got up into the outside into Ricky. They both wiggled, and it allowed Billy Bigley to get by and Rick Crawford to get up on the inside of Coy Gibbs.
Here's Matt Crafton in the Fast Track Driveway Series. That's a yellow and white numeral 88 there. Right side of your screen. He's one of the rookie contenders. He's 3rd in the rookie points. Now he's trying to make a move inside Ricky Hendrick. Behind the 88 truck is last week's winner Dennis Setzer in the Axiom Chevy, the exact same truck he won with at Memphis a week ago.
Coy Gibbs able to hold his own there on the outside of Rick Crawford.
Boy, look at that 20 truck pulling the straightaway. They have got some horsepower. That's the Winston Cup motors from Martin Warnquist and Company, who builds engines for Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte, the reigning Winston Cup champion. Here is Crafton, I was talking about a moment ago, the Duke Thorson owned Chevy truck, giving Ricky Hendrick a pretty good run.
Some good horsepower in that 17 truck, too.
Yeah.
Kenny Bingham and Ronnie Revis.
Kenny and VNR Motorsports out of Rick Hendrick's operation. Strong muscle. Like the same engines in our leader's truck. And Jack Sprague's truck. And tough break for the 51. Heavy contact. We'll show you what happened just a moment ago to Brian Rose.
Looked like he slid up into the wall on the outside. It looks like turn 1 and 2 there, and made some pretty hard contact. They may be able to make repairs and get him back out, but he did hit pretty hard.
Pretty heavy impact for the Sunclear Energy machine. Tough break for Brian in his 2nd NASCAR Craftsman truck start.
Yeah.
How about these guys?
I'd say right now Matt Crafton probably has a faster truck than Ricky Hendrick, but he's on the inside. Again, he has to be careful here. He doesn't lose air off the spoiler. And right now he needs to move all the way out to the wall to use the whole racetrack, but he can't because Ricky Hendrick's there.
They look at the rookie points, see where the drivers are running in this event. See Bigley, Quapple, Hendrick, Crafton. Hendrick, of course, leads the rookie points, and Quapple's in 2nd spot, but he's leading in terms of standings in this race. There comes Dennis Setzer trying to make a move inside. Dennis was not very pleased with the way his truck was handling here at Milwaukee, and he's typically very, very good at this racetrack.
Well, he really is. I watched the race back, the very first Craftsman Truck Series race we had here back in 1995, and I thought Dennis was going to win that race. Mike Skinner ended up winning that race in Richard Childress's truck by 0.3 of a second over Dennis.
I wore the carpet out in my living room watching that one in 95 when Dennis Setzer drove a truck that Greer Lackey owned and passed Skinner 4 times in the last 7 laps. Ended up finishing 2nd. Here's a pretty good battle again. Coy Gibbs and the 14 of Rick Crawford.
It's a 10th place battle right there.
Well, 31 of 200 laps are in the books, and the guy they're chasing it was the pole sitter. Flat Track Jack. They call him Jack Sprague, showing the way. Back with more from Milwaukee in a moment. at the Milwaukee Mile. NASCAR racing on ESPN. Your exclusive home of the Craftsman Truck Series. And stop number 11 on the 24-race, $12 million NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Tour in this its 7th year. Jack Sprague pulling away by about a second and a half over Joe Ruttman. Let's check back in the garage area with Amy.
Well, I'm here with Brian Rose. They're putting him up on jack stands. Brian, what happened? You have some brake trouble?
Yeah, we went off into one, and I went to hit the brake pedal, and my pedal went all the way to the floor. You know, it's real unfortunate. Sunclear Energy was on the move today. The team worked real hard. Yesterday didn't happy hour, made the truck better, and it's just something unfortunate that happened to us. I was just told that it looks like my brake line separated on the front. So we're just looking forward to getting back out and getting some more laps and getting ready for next week.
Well, Brian Rose has been very impressive. Just been bit by bad luck the last 2 weeks in a row.
Boy, Amy, this is one of the places you absolutely don't want any problems with the brakes. This flat track, guys use a lot of brakes getting down in the corner. He got down in the corner without any brakes. There's no question that there's no way he could hold the truck.
All right, there's Jack Sprague. He's showing a little under 2 seconds of a lead over Joe Ruttman. Sprague, of course, his 3rd pole of the year. So he is the leader, and now he's the all-time leader in poles won in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with 16. Here is Joe Ruttman, the Dana Dodge. Showing his best finish at Milwaukee, 6th in the season, the inaugural race here back in 1995. Driving for Bobby Hamilton Racing.
Joe's got a lot of practice there this week at Milwaukee. He's doing double duty. He's also going to run the Busch race, so he's driving James Finch's car in the Busch race, so he's had a lot of track time here.
Riding along with the Mopar onboard camera for Ted Musgrave from Franklin, Wisconsin. Ted won 3 times in the first 5 events of the season, and here is last year's winner from the pole. 22, he's an old man now, 22-year-old Kurt Busch. He won here last year at the ripe old age of 21 years, 10 months, and 28 days. Still the youngest driver ever to win a NASCAR Craftsman truck competition. That's the Eldon Ford for Kurt Busch.
There's Terry Cook. Again, we talked about the fact he's going to have a sponsor, but he's hanging right with his Ford compatriot there, Kurt Busch, back in the 5th position. Terry's about 4.5 seconds off the lead.
Caution is waving once again, and it again is Eric Jones in the 34 truck who's had some troubles. Eric out of Granger, Iowa, the Safeline Auto Glass Chevrolet. Apparently some more contact with the concrete.
It looks like he flat-sided it this time. You can see the right side of his truck, left side of your screen is pretty flat. You know, those when they say you're better off not getting out of bed on those days, I think this is one of those days for Eric, unfortunately.
Good to have him here, and I guess it's all part of the learning curve, and this is a tough track, though, to come learn on.
Well, it really is. Again, as I mentioned, started to talk about earlier, I've really been buffaloed a couple different times at this racetrack where I thought I really had a good car prior to race day and start the race and was so loose I couldn't drive it.
Now Eric will try to get that truck, his Chevy truck, into the pits and get the crew to take a look at it. They'll change some right side tires as they try to get the jack under the right side of that truck. Here again, the rules in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series racing, you're only allowed to change 2 tires under caution unless your tires are flat spotted. So the leaders will be coming down pit road here momentarily, and we'll follow 3 different leaders in the pits. Let's go down to Amy.
Well, at the top of your screen, you're going to see Terry Cook and his K Automotive Ford come down pit lane. He is complaining of a slightly loose condition and it's shoving the nose up through the center. So they're going to give him right side tires and make a slight chassis adjustment. No, they've decided against the chassis adjustment, just the air pressure adjustment on the right side tires. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Amy, down on this end, I believe it'll be right side tires for both the 18 and the number 24. They cautioned Sprague on the radio that this pit road does lean downhill, so he's got to be sure to hold on to the brakes. Tires get jammed up a little bit here, but all these guys do have their fuel in, and Sprague will be away first. He'll get off pit road, but it looks like Terry Cook may have beaten Ruttman off the line.
I tell you, a great pit stop for the K Automotive team, for Bob and Kay Keselowski, Ron Keselowski. Great stop for Terry Cook as he will come out of the pits in 2nd position behind Jack Sprague, who's the leader in the Net Zero Chevrolet. Back with more from Milwaukee in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, working caution number 3 on the day due to a spin by Eric Jones and some more contact with his Chevrolet on the outside wall. Pit stops have been the order of the day. The leaders have been on and off pit road. Pretty heavy congestion here in the pits a moment ago where Sprague and Ruttman were trying to get in and out in a hurry.
You see Joe Ruttman, his pit stop is done. The guys are telling him to go, but he can't go anywhere. He's about 3 feet behind Jack Sprague, so he has to wait for Jack to leave. When he does, Terry Cook's able to beat him out.
You see Kurt Busch on the left side and the Eldon truck making a move on the inside, trying to get the position. Now, most of the pit leaders took right side tires, but Kurt Busch took left side tires. He's the only one we saw take left side tires. But let's check in his pits and find out why. Ray Dunlap?
Well, I asked his crew chief, Jeff Campy, what the story was with everyone going with rights. He said it's absolutely too early in this race to go for right side tires. A number of these guys may only change rights today, but he wanted to have some fresher lefts on it. They'll change rights on the next pit stop, whereas a number of these teams may decide to go with left. So he wanted to have those fresher tires later in the race on that side.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ray. And now we've got Kurt's teammate from a year ago and the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion as our guest in the booth here, Greg Biffle. Greg, glad to have you come up and join us here. And I guess you were on the radio a moment ago listening to Kurt, and he was complaining that the truck wasn't exactly handling that well.
Yeah, he was complaining it was real tight coming up off the corners. And just as I was coming up, I saw the pit stops go there.
All right, glad to have Greg Biffle with us. He'll be joining us, a little expert analysis here as we go back to green flag racing action. Jack Sprague. Boy, Sprague looks tough.
Well, he sure does. You know, we talked earlier about how Joe Ruttman was able to stay up with him, but Jack had opened up about a 2-second lead prior to that caution flag. So, as everyone said, he is the truck to beat.
Definitely was last week. He's on a roll.
And they're waving the caution flag again from Dion Henske for the 4th time today. Caution being shown to the field. And the pace truck will head back onto the racetrack with Mike Golden aboard to pick up Sprague, the leader.
You were talking about the congestion on pit road and actually showing it. Greg was talking about Kurt Busch actually got blocked in because he changed left sides, which you can do normally quicker than you can rights. I looked down at Kenny Schrader, who was completely blocked out of his pits. He couldn't even get in the pits. He had to go back around.
Absolutely, and Kurt was probably the real loser there because they elected to change lefts, which probably would have put him in the lead in all actuality if they wouldn't have got blocked in. So real tight pit road down here today.
That's the voice of Greg Biffle, the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. There's the debris right in the center of your screen on the racetrack that brought the caution flag back out. NASCAR has spotters all around the racetrack. They saw some debris on the tracks and wave the yellow hanky. So we're back under caution for the 4th time. Back with Milwaukee in just a moment. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action exclusively on ESPN, the worldwide leader. Glad to be here at Milwaukee. I'm Jerry Punch along with Phil Parsons. Glad to have the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Greg Biffle joining us here in the booth as an expert analyst. Amy East and Ray Dunlap covering the action on pit road. And Greg, last week you came out of the semi-Craftsman Truck Series retirement to run at Memphis. You brought your buddy Randy Goss along. Had a pretty good run.
Yeah, we did. It was real exciting to get back and run with all the guys again, and just was excited to get back in the trucks. We had a great run there, and unfortunately Sprague had some problems, and we skid in the oil and flat spotted a left front tire real bad. And, had to run it to the end, you know, with the NASCAR rules in the truck series only being able to change 2 tires. So, you know, we were kind of got trapped in a corner on that deal, but it was exciting to be back.
You like to be able to change 4 tires like you can in the Busch Series now. Does that make it easier for you guys?
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, and you know the 2 tires puts a lot of strategy into it. But I really like to. I think the Truck Series may come along someday and be able to change 4 and not give them any more, just allow them to change it however they want.
That's Greg Biffle, reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion, joining us as a guest analyst in the booth. We are set to go back to green flag racing here on lap 48 after the caution flag out for the 4th time a day for 3 laps due to debris on the racetrack. Jack Sprague, he's the guy they're chasing. Flat track Jack. Terry Cook looks to be pretty doggone strong, but look at Sprague just pulling by about a half a truck length off the corner.
He's been really strong with that truck since he unloaded. He was fastest in practice, fastest obviously qualifying, fastest in happy hour practice, as Amy mentioned earlier. Terry's all over him right now, trying to look on the inside, trying to get up underneath him, but Jack might be. The thing is, when you have a caution flag, a lot of times your tires build up a lot of air pressure. Some of that air pressure will go back out as the tires cool off some. So sometimes it takes a couple laps to get the air pressure back up where they can perform at their optimal rating.
Well, Amy, the 29 truck looks to be awfully good after that pit stop.
Yes, they are, Jerry. They feel as though they have a very strong truck. Actually, they had a mishap in qualifying yesterday. They truly thought they could have gotten the pole position. And NASCAR has a rule. You must qualify and race on tires that you purchase at the track, even if it is the exact same tire that they ran last weekend at Memphis. And due to some confusion during practice, the sticker tires that they set aside for qualifying, the right front was a Memphis tire, not a Milwaukee tire, which forced them to qualify on scuffs. Qualified 5th. They were happy after all of that aversion to come through with 5th, and they now know they have to make it up here on the racetrack. And let's remember, they have an extra set of some, they have 3 stickers actually, 2 rears and a left front for later in today's race.
All right, thanks, Amy. This is the same truck that Terry Cook finished 3rd with at Martinsville and St. Louis, his 2 best finishes of the year, so hoping to maybe get a win. Riding along now on the Mopar onboard camera with Ted Musgrave. Whoa! Get a nice little shot. We all 3 screamed at one time. Joe Ruttman getting a little bit loose, I'd say.
Yeah, it looks like the one's putting some pressure on him there. Ted's looks like he's been pretty good after that pit stop, and those trucks are aero sensitive. You can see he's wiggling them there. He's going to get up beside him.
Got him loose, got right up under his tailgate, got him loose, and was able to pull up beside him. Going to bring Travis Popple right along with him.
Now, Greg, when you say aero sensitive, I mean, you meaning that there's the air, you're dependent so much on the air for the handling of the truck.
Yeah, and that's when, you know, the guy gets up underneath that spoiler, the guy in front of him, and it just takes the air off it and just keeps the, can't get the power down, and it makes it loose. And that's what it looked like Terry was trying to do to the 24.
Let's show you again what happened a moment ago. Look at Ruttman just sideways, nearly gets the Dana decal wiped off by the concrete there.
Pretty good catch by Joe Ruttman right there.
And now you got the, now Ted's right up underneath the spoiler when they go in the corner there, and that's how he got it.
It took Joe a lap or 2 to catch his breath after that little exercise. So he's back up to speed right now.
Take me about a week. Riding along now with Scott Riggs on the Team ASE CarQuest Dodge. He's our points leader by 53 points over Ruttman. Riggs a 2-time winner this year. He won at Martinsville and at Dover. In fact, this is the same truck he ran at Memphis last week and finished 2nd in, and also won at Martinsville earlier in the year.
Scott's up to the 5th position right now. Again, he really has improved on his truck from the time they got there yesterday.
Pretty good battle here for 7th and 8th position here. That's the 75, the left side of your screen. That's Billy Bigley. He's in 8th spot. The 99 was in 9th. Now that's being shown, pardon me, that's 7th, 8th, and 9th. 7th is a 75 truck. 8th is a 20 of Gibbs. And 9th is a 99, the oldest Ford of Kurt Busch.
Greg, with Kurt Busch with the left side tires, now he probably won't be quite as good as the other guys with fresh right side tires, will he?
No, he won't. And this is a survival right here for the 99 team. They just need to, stay in the lead lap, stay up there in the top 10, and just let this cycle of fuel run out. And then they'll put rights on for the rest of the day. And I'm sure that nose being knocked in is probably hurting him some on aero. Definitely.
You see a little piece of screen dangling in the front grille of that 99 truck when it comes out. You take a look at the left side of that grille. It looks like part of the screen grille is knocked out, sort of just hanging on there by.
It's amazing how much we rely on that kind of stuff for the front downforce. So right now he does not have as much front downforce as he needs to have.
Right, and where they need to be careful is when he's screaming it's tight right now, and when he comes in to make his pit stop, they fix that patch or they get it taped up. Then he's going to have the front downforce back, and he's going to free the chassis up too much and may be too loose after the next pit stop. So it's it's difficult to get that balance.
That's one thing for the crew guys. Now they all have TVs down in their pits. They're monitoring our broadcast, so they need to look at that, like as you mentioned, and say, hey, we can't free it up too much because when we put that, we're going to have some more front down when we put that screen back on there. So they have to be conscious of that, as you mentioned.
Here's the Milwaukee Electric Tools Ford for Rick Crawford. Now he makes the 113th career start today, hoping to be able to get back to victory lane. He's this week's candidate for the one to watch.
There's no other place I'd rather be than driving for Circle Bar Motel and RV Park and being part of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. I'm in this for the duration, and I'm trying to do my job, and they're giving me the things to do my job with. So I'm content, I'm satisfied, and still got the fire in my eyes, and we're going to try to win some races and put the number 14 up front.
And he would love to have that win come right here in the hometown of his sponsor, Milwaukee Electric Tools. Rick Crawford 2001 season, 8th in points, 6 top 10s. He has led 5 races. Had some great runs early in the year. In fact, Crawford led the most laps at Dover, led 73 laps. His best finish 4th at Gateway and Darlington. His best finish here at Milwaukee 3rd 2 years ago.
You know, Greg, we talked about in the open of the show how obviously Dodge has won the first 8 races, then Chevrolet's won the last 2, and we talked about when is Ford going to break through. Now, you drove that truck last week at Memphis. How close is a Ford right now to being able to get to victory lane?
I think they're pretty close. They just need a little bit better aero package. Looks like the Chevys and the Dodgers have a little bit more front downforce just by the eye looking at them. But, you know, the Ford's got to move their spoiler back a little bit, got a balance change for them. But I think they're still just a little bit off, and they'll keep working at it. I think a little bit later in the season they're going to be where they need to be. And it's just they're off a little bit. You know, we should have finished second last week for sure. And may have had something for Setzer at the end, but I'm not sure.
Okay, here's a pass a moment ago for second position. Terry Cook, who was so good after the restart, in second spot, loses second spot to Ted Musgrave in the Mopar Dodge. So it's Chevy leading, then Dodge and Ford in the top 3.
So Ted got underneath Terry coming off the corner there. Terry wisely just let him go when he got there. Instead of racing him down into the corner, he just let him go.
Greg, people who watch our NASCAR Craftsman truck coverage this year look back at a year ago when Ford won 12 of 24 races. You got to wonder, what's the biggest difference? Is it the engine combination, the tire, or is it the fact that you and Busch are gone and they got a little less experience in the seat this year? Could that be the difference?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I think it's they just don't have the experienced driver pool that they did last year. And, you know, I think the motors are still good. I think that they might be a little bit off on aero packages. You know, we won 12 races, so NASCAR really favored the other teams to try and bring them up to speed when it was probably just, you know, good teams, good Ford teams last year.
Well, the good news is that Chuck Hostel and Nathan Hosley are learning that they're young rookie drivers for Roush. They're learning by watching the veterans like Kurt Busch here today. Back with more from Milwaukee in just a moment. Well, Sunday, ABC Sports brings you the next race in the CART FedEx Championship Series, the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. That's 1 o'clock Eastern, 3 Pacific, only on ABC. And, of course, qualifying today on ESPN2, 6:30 Eastern Time. CART today, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, live flag-to-flag coverage at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific, the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland on ABC Sports. There's the Jelly Belly machine of Jim Engelbright. Jim making his 4th start of the year in NASCAR Craftsman truck competition, coming off a big win last week at Sears Point Raceway in the NASCAR Southwest Series division. Big win for Jim out there. He ran at Mesa Marin, Gateway St. Louis, and Pikes Peak thus far in Craftsman truck action. His best finish of 15th at Mesa Marin and down in Bakersfield. In fact, we're told that he's looking to maybe run full-time next year. Depends on what the folks, Herman Rowland, Sr. and Jr. at the Jelly Belly Candy Company have to say about sponsorship. He got there full-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2002.
Be a great addition to the series. They do a great job promoting their product.
And they're good.
And Greg Biffle, an unsolicited testimonial about how good the Jelly Bellies are. What's your favorite flavor?
Well, I like that. I like the popcorn one. Have you ever got it?
Oh, the buttered popcorn is outstanding. Juicy pear is one of my. I love the.
I always find the Jelly Belly pits when they've got them out there at the back of the truck.
That's why you're hanging around up there. All right, here's a battle for 6th spot. That's Greg Biffle, by the way, in the booth with us. Here is Billy Bigley in the 75 Spears manufacturing truck getting a challenge.
Joe was able to get his truck turned down coming off turn 4, got underneath him. It was hanging tough there on the outside.
That's Joe Ruttman on the inside trying to take the 6th position away. Ruttman was running back in 7th spot. Look behind him at 20 truck sniffing around back there. That's Coy Gibbs coming off his best ever qualifying effort last week in Memphis. He started 5th and finished 5th in the MB&A Chevrolet.
Greg, it looks like the outside group's coming in pretty quick there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and you know, I got up in the high groove and happy hour there a little bit, and it's pretty good down through 3 and 4, maybe off just a little bit. What happens is you kind of diamond that 1 and 2 corner down there a little bit, and when a car is outside, you kind of takes that groove away. And
the 18 looks like he's coming back a little bit. How about it, Ray Dunlap?
Well, actually, Jerry, he's been saying that the truck is even looser than it was before. They were loose when they pitted that last time, put right side tires on and made an air pressure adjustment. He was just loose in the middle, but now Ruttman said it's loose in the middle, and loose off. So actually, he's got his hands full there. They came in second, went out third, but he's lost some spots on the racetrack because the truck is just loose.
That 20 car behind him sure isn't, 20 truck behind him sure isn't helping either when they were side-by-side battling.
He would love for that 20 truck to back off a few truck lengths from him.
What you're watching is the battle of 75. Bigley being shown in 6th spot. Behind him is Ruttman in 7th. Then comes the 20th, Boy Gibbs in 8th. Behind him is Kurt Busch in the Eldon Ford. Last year's winner here in 9th spot. And in 10th spot being shown the 90 of Lance Norris. Another good run for Lance Norris.
Greg, do you find a lot of times when you put right side tires on, if you don't adjust on the truck, will that actually free them up a little bit?
Yeah, it will. What'll happen is, usually that right front tire will make it turn better, and it'll free it up. Depends on the truck and how you got the chassis set, and if it was tight before. But a lot of times it makes it turn better, and it'll free it up a little bit.
All right, for all the latest news of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and for the world of motorsports, log on to rpm.espn.com. The keyword is NASCAR Trucks. You can update your favorite drivers and see what happened at Memphis last week. Find out what happened to Greg Biffle and company. See what's going on with Kurt Busch, Boy Gibbs, and all your favorite NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver. rpm.espn.com. And we're going to find out who's going to be in the 99 truck next week, maybe. Let's check in back in the Roush pits with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, we were certainly curious as to who that would be, with Biffle driving in a Roush truck last week and Kurt Busch here this week. And the word is Nathan Haslai will be in the 99 next week when we go to Kansas City. So he is the choice for the number 99. John Wood will be in the 50 when we go to Kansas City next week. So the one driver standing on the sideline watching, continuing, will be Chuck Hosfeld. Nathan Haslai will drive the 99.
And Greg, we got to ask you, these guys, Chuck Hosfeld and Nathan Haslai, they are two pretty talented drivers. Just because they had to sit out a couple of weeks to have you come in and Kurt Busch come in, that's nothing against their talent. They're basically just having a chance to watch and learn. Is that what they're trying to do?
That's basically it. It's just execution when you show up at the racetrack. You only have 2 hours to figure out a new racetrack, a setup, and get your truck going the best you can. And without having any experience in these things to start with, like Chuck, I was talking with him last night, said he's learned a tremendous amount watching me at Memphis last week, and he's just learned a lot the last 2 weeks watching and learning from what we've done as far as execution at the racetrack.
And by the way, the other driver in the other Roush truck here, 19-year-old John Wood, he is an impressive talent. We'll tell you more about him in just a moment when we come back. It's very live NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action from the Milwaukee Mile at the historic Wisconsin State Fair Park. Just a reminder, Sunday ABC Sports brings you the next race in the CART FedEx Championship Series, the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern time. That is Sunday afternoon. Of course, qualifying today, 6:30 Eastern time. CART today, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And at 1 Eastern on Sunday, the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. For more, log on to ESPN.com. There's the guy they're chasing, Jack Sprague, the Net Zero Chevrolet. Sprague, who led so many laps, he led 90 laps last week at Memphis, only to cut an oil line and slam up into the wall in turns 3 and 4. A disappointing finish. Well, they pitted on lap 41 under the second caution flag today. And what about the fuel situation, Ray Dunlap?
Well, Jerry, these trucks can go just about 80 laps on a fuel stop, and everybody was hoping to make this a 2-stop race. But they needed to get to at least lap 40. That was the magic number. The big question now was, do they have enough fuel to make this just one more stop? If this race were to stay green and they come in one more time, they would have to stretch it to exactly 80 laps on that last pit stop. It's going to be very, very close. If we stay under green flag, it'll be interesting to keep our eye on the fuel situation for all of these guys. Jack Sprague has said on the radio his truck feels as best it has possibly been all weekend. So it handles well, so that means it probably is getting pretty good fuel mileage.
I talked to Kurt Busch this morning, and he said yesterday in happy hour, they ran that truck out of fuel. So they ran 85 laps. On the 85th lap, it coughed and sputtered and quit. So they felt pretty comfortable. They could go 81 or 82 on fuel, which if that's the case, and they should be set to go with one more stop around lap 120 to 125.
Exactly right. They actually, I talked to the guys this morning while you were talking to Kurt, and he said the same thing, that they felt pretty comfortable. But you never know. If the guys don't quite get it full on a pit stop, if he lacks a gallon, then you're talking about 3 or 4 laps.
Looks like Kurt got a run on the. He's been working on the 20 car for Coy Gibbs for a long time. Looks like he finally got up beside him there.
Greg, I know for 5 or 6 years, or 3 or 4 years, you talked about trucks. Now you're driving cars. We got to remember these are trucks.
Exactly.
By the way, Greg,
I never made a mistake when I was driving the trucks. I always caught myself.
By the way, he's on the outside front row for the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series event here tomorrow in the Granger machine for Jack Roush, and so we wish Greg Biffle the best of luck. He is graciously joining us as an analyst, and he's the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion.
Been watching Kurt Busch in the 99 Eldon. Ford, he was able to make the pass on Coy Gibbs finally, up into the 7th position.
Be curious to see if he'll be able to get away from Coy Gibbs a little bit now. He might have been tight behind him. With there again with the aero, these trucks are so sensitive because they don't have a lot of downforce to start with. When they get out in that clean air, it sure helps them.
You see a lot of times where you see a truck that'll chase down another truck from a long ways back, but once he gets there, he can't pass it.
Absolutely. You see that a lot.
You just joined us. We're at the Milwaukee Mile, the historic Wisconsin State Fairgrounds Park. It's been a home for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series every year since the inception of the series back in 1995. This is the GNC Live Well 200 laps on a 1-mile racetrack as you watch Ruttman and Coy Gibbs. Ruttman is the 18th truck of the Dodge. Gibbs, the MB&A Chevrolet, battle side by side for 8th position.
Pretty strong move by Joe Ruttman. Drove up on the outside of Coy Gibbs coming off turn 2. It looks like he's going to be able to possibly beat him down into turn number 1. Oh, there we go.
Gibbs pinches it down, and it goes around on him. Here is Crawford by on the inside, and that will bring out the caution flag for the 5th time today.
Looked like a K-stock. He's got a little bit. He was on the inside of Joe Ruttman, got a little bit loose, took a little bit of air off his spoiler, being on the inside, and around to win. He did a great job not letting the thing slide up into the outside wall.
Absolutely. That was a great save by Coy Gibbs, and then able to keep it still there and everybody maneuver around him, and he's got going again. I'm not sure if he got 24 past him or not. Looks like it did. I'm not sure if the leader got the caution, but
caution for the 5th time today. We'll show you again what happened. Watch the 20 truck on the right side of your screen.
On the inside of Joe Ruttman down there, it's really
pinched him down.
Pinched him down right to the bottom of the racetrack, and Coy had to pinch it down, plus lost air off the spoil, and around him. When you see him, you see the wheel still going forward. He's trying to keep the thing from backing up the racetrack. Pretty heads-up move there.
Right, great move by Rick Crawford to miss that. This is a long entrance into this corner, and the cars tend to be free when you're in there, and he's got him. Coy's turning the wheel, trying to stay out of the 18, and it just got out from under him.
Now, if he doesn't crank that wheel left, he ends up spinning Ruttman possibly and himself both.
Himself, exactly.
As you mentioned, the great move by Rick Crawford not to hit Gibbs in the door. He turned hard left in the Milwaukee Electric Tools Ford to be able to get on the inside there. And that brings out the caution for the 5th time today here on lap 90. We are now showing 92 laps in the books. And if they were to pit from here, they could not make it the rest of the way. So I would doubt we will see, we probably will see some tire changing here in the pits momentarily.
Be a chance for Kurt Busch to get right side tires on that truck, and we'll see how he will stack up against the guys that all take left side tires.
Again, it's a 200 lap race. We are working lap 92, so they will have to go to lap 120 to be able to make it on fuel. There, the pits are closed. That is Rick Noble holding the red flag with the yellow cross indicating the pits are closed. Now, when he takes that green flag in his right hand and waves it like he's doing now, that means the pits are open because the pace truck with Mike Dolan on board comes by, opens the pits, and we'll watch and see if some of the lead trucks will make an entry on the pit road during this 5th caution flag. Here comes Sprague, Musgrave, Cook, Quapple and company headed down pit road for their pit stop. Let's go down to Amy, who's in our points leaders pit, Scott Riggs.
Well, Scott Riggs, although last year started 21st and finished 9th, he feels as though he's struggling this year when he's running in the top 10, how different a year can be. It's been tight, and he's been shoving the nose up, center off. They're going to give him left side tires and fuel. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Amy, down here in the leader pit for Jack Sprague, they did make a chassis adjustment. They went down one round of bite in the left rear and did left side tires. Musgrave also got left side tires and lefts and a chassis adjustment for the number 18. And it looks like Terry Cook with another fast stop.
A fairly lengthy stop down there for Kurt Busch. We'll find out what happened with them on the left side of the truck, as there is Jack Sprague, the Net Zero Chevrolet. He's the guy they've been chasing. Back in just a moment. What happened in the back at the Milwaukee Mile? A little pleading going on here from the coach, three-time Super Bowl winning coach Joe Gibbs, talking to the NASCAR officials. And apparently, I would imagine discussion here, Phil Parsons, is wanting to get maybe 4 tires because of the spin. Amy, what are they talking about?
Well, first, Coach Gibbs was talking with NASCAR about when this caution came out. They feel as though they should still be on the lead lap. They did indeed race leader Jack Sprague back to the line. NASCAR said no. I couldn't understand really why they didn't say that Coy was still on the lead lap. Nevertheless, he came down and took on the right side tires. Now they are indeed fighting for left sides. They feel as though they have some flat spotted situations, and I know Greg Biffle knows what a flat spotted tire feels like after last week at Memphis. So Coach is still fighting for those left side tires.
Show you again what happened a moment ago here on lap 90 to bring out the caution flag. Coy Gibbs in the right side of your screen, the MB&A Chevy truck.
Can get pinched down by Joe Rubman and the Dana Dodge on the
sideways. Give us 4. We'll find out who wins when we come back to the Milwaukee Mile in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, working caution for the 5th time today due to a spin by Coy Gibbs. The MB&A Chevrolet, Jack Sprague being shown as the leader. Sprague has led 93 laps thus far today. Because of pit stops, the only other leader was showing the 58 truck, who led 3 laps, and that was Chris Horn. I'm Jerry Punch, along with Phil Parsons. We have reigning Craftsman Truck Series champion Greg Biffle joining us, an expert analyst here in the booth, along with Ray Dunlap and Amy East covering the action on pit road. There are many special people that work behind the scenes to make the Craftsman Truck Series special. Let's hear from one in this week's edition of the Craftsman Pit Profile.
For most of their life, brothers Jay and Jamie Goff have been involved with motorsports. Their father built and raced drag cars back in their native Tennessee. Well, Jay, the big question becomes, is there an advantage or a disadvantage to being on the same team with your brother?
I think there's an advantage because, you know, with family you can communicate a lot better, and more than what you could with like a regular average Joe. I can tell him if he messes up, you messed up, and I don't have to worry about hurting his feelings.
Well, that's good, but the big question becomes, Jamie, which one's better? He's been at it longer than you. Is he a better tire changer or you?
Well, you know, people say we look the same and we act the same and think the same, so I just figure we're the same.
Oh, boy, how about that? They say they're the same, but the proof is in the pudding. Both of these guys are now on a winning team.
Now, there's a look at the Goff brothers in the pits. As we look in the Dennis Setzer pits, let's check in quickly with Amy.
Well, so far so good for the Goff brothers. They picked up 1 spot for Dennis Setzer on that last round of pit stops and won the time before. So having a couple brothers on your team's not too bad.
Not too bad at all. Like Benny Parsons and Phil Parsons. I've worked many years with Benny. I think you and Benny are pretty close when it comes to overall talent, but I'm going to give you the edge in the swimsuit competition.
I want to know, the brothers were talking about they can say something bad about the other one, and I hurt their feelings. Benny's hurt my feelings my whole life. I don't know what they're talking about.
That's his job as an older brother. He's required to do that. That's in the papers that they give their mom when they leave the hospital. All right, getting set for the restart. That's Phil Parsons. As we get set for the restart here, after working caution flag number 5, Jack Sprague will lead him down.
There's Coy Gibbs on the inside trying to get his lap back. Desperately needs to get his lap back. Another great pit stop for Terry Cook. Came back out in second position.
Cook is the 29 truck. That's the Ford, the yellow and black, red numeral 29. That comes zipping by you. There is Coy Gibbs trying to get back on the lead lap. He's trying to stay on the inside. Cook is the second place truck. Musgrave is third. Scott Riggs, the points leader, back in fourth spot. And will come down this time for the halfway point. 100 laps complete. And 100 to go here at the Milwaukee Mile. The GNC Live Well 200.
As Ted Musgrave, we're looking out of his onboard camera right now. He's trying to say, one of these guys go on. I don't care which one it is, but one of them go.
And Coy's doing a good job of keeping it down out of the way there.
Until that corner.
Yeah, until that corner. He's giving those guys the outside groove and then leaving them a lot of room leaving the corner there.
There's Billy Bigley in the Spears Manufacturing truck, and boy, what a good run he has had here today. Bigley in the 75. They have John Wilson engines. That's Gasoline Alley engines on board. John Wilson, the former engine builder for Felix Sabatis and Sabco years ago with the Petty Enterprises Group. Strong motors in the 75 for Bigley. Pretty good bumper, too.
Yeah, Scott wanted that position back. Billy got in the center corner down there in turn one, just turned left and drove underneath Scott, but Scott got back by him down the backstretch there and was able to block him going into turn number 3.
Again, this is a battle for fourth position. Riggs slides up. Here goes Bigley on the inside.
Just a replay of last lap, really. Got on the inside of it, but Scott pretty strong on the outside. Was able to get a good momentum from the outside down the backstretch. Billy's going to hang in here. He wants to try to beat him off the corner if he can. You hear Scott pedaling the throttle a little bit there on the outside.
Those guys are racing tight there. And now you got Joe Ruttman in the picture.
Bigley's best finish, 9th this year, twice. Mason Moran and Darlington.
Little slide job there, little open wheel slide job. Drove down in the corner real hard, slid up in front of Scott, so Scott was not able to get back to the outside of him.
And now Scott will lose another position because Travis Quaffle comes by. The Catherine Chevrolet, the Mike Addington on machine. Rick Wren getting him dialed in, coming to his home racetrack here at the Milwaukee Mile. Now Scott Riggs being shown back in 7th position as he ride along on the Team ASE CarQuest onboard camera.
Another battle for second there. Terry Cook in the 29 truck in front of Ted Musgrave. Terry's crew was able to beat Ted Musgrave's crew out of the pits. We know Ted came in the pits in second position, but Terry Cook's pit crew was able to beat him out of the pits.
Terry Cook has not had a top 10 finish since May at Darlington 4 races ago. He had third place finishes at Martinsville and St. Louis in this truck.
Terry slid up in the center of the corner down there in turn 1 and 2 and allowed Ted to get on the inside of him. Terry wisely backs off, lets Ted go ahead and have the position. He knows right now Ted's truck is better than his. No sense racing right now. We have almost 100 laps to go.
There you have the line here, what kind of speeds we're talking about here. There is no surprise at all that Sprague is the fastest, 116.9. Waffle right now second quickest. The 18 truck of Ruttman is third quickest at the line.
That's a little bit deceiving. You see Terry Cook's time right there was a little bit slow, but that was because they were actually racing and passing. He backed off to let Ted Musgrave get the position.
And tough break for Randy Tolsma, who set on the outside pole and finished second here a year ago. This team cannot catch a break. They have struggled getting this truck to handle. And Tolsma, who's been so good at flat racetracks like Memphis in the past and Milwaukee, here the truck just would not turn at all, and he had a poor qualifying effort. Well, they really need to get some things organized down there in the Team Renzi.
Well, they really do. Randy Tolsma has always been really good at this racetrack in whatever kind of vehicle he's raced. So for them to be off the pace here, something has to be wrong.
Yeah, it looked like they were dropping a little bit of fluid when they came into the pits there, so I'm not sure if they're having engine trouble or overheating or something.
Well, we told you at the top of the show that Ford has not won since last October 28th when Kurt Busch won in the season finale at California. Ford tough. It's been a very tough season. They've led only 174 total laps almost out of 1,838. Dover this year, the first race without a top 10 finish in the history of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for Ford. And of course, the last win at Kurt Busch in California. And Ford has won the last 3 in a row at Milwaukee. In fact, last 2 in a row coming from the pole. Greg Biffle won it here 2 years ago from the pole, and Kurt Busch won it last year. But they are winless thus far this year in 2001. Well, we are past the halfway point and about 15 laps away from the window opening up for final fuel stops. But the guy they're still chasing is our pole sitter, Jack Sprague. Jack Sprague's success at Milwaukee hit its high point in 1996 when he scored the victory in his first full season driving for Rick Hendrick. With back-to-back poles in 97 and 98, Sprague has not only started up front but stayed there, as evidenced by top 10 finishes in each race he's run at this historic facility. With one victory to his credit this season, Mile Track Jack hopes to revisit the winner's circle today at the Milwaukee Mile. Well, right now I wouldn't bet against old Mile Track Jack. He has led twice for 109 out of 113 laps. Here's his career, Milwaukee career, 7 starts. 1 win back in 1996, 3 poles. He won back-to-back poles in 97 and 98. 6 top 10 finishes. He's never finished out of the top 10. Average finish of 4.5 average finish here. Pretty good day for Jack Sprague. And one guy who's not having the kind of day he typically has here at Milwaukee is Randy Tolsma, who's back in the garage area.
Randy, we saw you guys on that last pit stop go under the hood and look at the engine. Is that what it indeed took you guys out?
Yeah, we left the cylinder. This racetrack's so flat and so long, you need to get up off the corner, which means you have to put gear into it and stretch everything for, the maximum, and that's what happened. I think it just broke a valve spring, and that in turn leads to more valve springs.
You guys have had some tough luck lately. We'll hopefully get it turned around here soon.
Yeah, we do too. Thank you.
That's Randy Tolsma.
And we mentioned that whatever Randy has been here in the past, and even in USAC open wheel competition, he's running the top 5 every year. And so for him not to run well here indicates it's something that needs to be fixed in that race team, because obviously they are struggling here in the year 2001. There is Scott Riggs, our points leader in the Team ASA CarQuest Dodge, number 2. In 7th spot, and behind him is the Eldon Ford. Last year's pole sitter and winner, Kurt Busch, showing back in the 8th position.
We saw a shot of the front of Kurt's truck right there. You see on the outside, you see that he put it looks like a black piece of tapes or several layers of tape there to block off that piece that was missing. So he's got the aerodynamics fixed back right, but right now he's just not been able to move it as far close to the front as it looks like. Looks like he's tight. Greg and I were talking about. Looks like he looks probably a little bit tight in the center of the corner. Looks like.
Yeah, it does. You can see the nose move up real bad, and right there, the thing's just not wanting to turn for him, and then looks like it's not turning for him leaving the corner.
And it's compounded by the fact that he's right behind Scott Riggs, so he's not getting the clean air that he probably desperately needs right now to make the truck turn.
Absolutely.
Talk about the American dream. Kurt Busch lived it 4.5 years ago. He was stocking shelves in a grocery store in Las Vegas, and then running short track races out there on the short tracks, and then a year later, he's Rookie of the Year in the Southwest Series. And then 2 years later, at the ripe old age of 20, he's Southwest Series champion. Last year, finished second in the points to Greg Biffle in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. 4 poles and 4 wins at the age of 21. And this year, at the age of 22, running for Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. So a pretty good 4 years for Kurt Busch.
Sure has been. And he's doing a great job in that Winston Cup car, too. He's got a couple top 5 finishes already this year.
3rd in Talladega. I mean, not a bad effort in that Rubbermaid Sharpie Ford cars for Jack Roush. Well, coming into here, Scott Riggs had a 53-point lead over Joe Ruttman. As of right now, with Ruttman running in front of him, it would be a 44-point separation between Riggs and Ruttman. Sprague, who's gaining on it, back in 3rd spot in the points, has been dominant for most of the afternoon here. Ricky the Rookie Hendrick back in 4th spot. Ted Musgrave in 5th. That would be a tie right now for 4th position in the point standings.
Jack took a pretty big hit last week when he had that problem with the oil line at Memphis. Had he had a good finish there, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, then he would have been a lot closer in the point battle. But there's a long way to go yet, World. This is only the 11th race of the year, so there's a lot of racing left to do.
Greg Biffle, the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion, has joined us in the booth as an analyst. We're just joining our telecast. And Greg, last year you and Kurt Busch, very, very good. They call them killer bees for Jack Roush. One of you goes to Busch Racing, one of you goes to Winston Cup. And what is the more difficult transition? It seemed like the Cup cars with the same wheelbase as the truck would be a little easier transition than what you've had to do going to Busch.
Yeah, it possibly would be. I haven't driven a Winston Cup car much at all, so don't really have any experience to reflect on there. But I'll tell you, the Busch car was a tremendous amount easier to drive than I suspected it to be with that short wheelbase, and you know, they increased the power on them this year. But we tested Kentucky and a few places, Las Vegas, before we got started for the season, and man, I felt just 100% in those cars, and we've been on a pretty good roll since the beginning of the season, just gathering a lot of information.
That is the voice of reigning NASCAR Truck Series champion Greg Biffle, who's doing an awfully good job in the NASCAR Busch Series this year. He starts on the outside front row for the NASCAR Busch Grand National event here at the Milwaukee Mile tomorrow. He's joining us in the booth along with Phil Parsons. We'll take a quick break and come back with the final 78 laps at Milwaukee in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action exclusively on the worldwide leader ESPN. Coming your way next week from Kansas Speedway, the ultra-modern 1.5-mile facility just outside of Kansas, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman trucks. And folks, all you NASCAR fans who have been so patient to wait out in Kansas and Iowa and Missouri, NASCAR's coming your way, and what a gorgeous facility you've got to enjoy it in. Kansas Speedway. We'll be there next Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Make plans to join us. Jack Sprague is our leader in the Net Zero Platinum Chevrolet. Sprague, our pole sitter, picking up his third pole of the year. Having a great run here, has led twice for 124 laps out of 127.
The fact that he's already clinched the lap leader bonus here for leading the most laps, that makes four of the last 5 races Jack has led the most laps this year.
Here's our second place truck, Ted Musgrave with a Mopar Dodge. Great run for Musgrave. Wisconsin native coming home. He's from Franklin, Wisconsin. Had to be very special for him coming back to where his dad Elmer ran for so many years. Here's a pretty good battle side by side for 5th position.
Billy Bigley was in 5th position there. Travis Quapple now was able to get by him on the outside to move up into the 5th position.
Travis Quapple, the other driver here from Wisconsin, from Janesville, Wisconsin, just about an hour away, although he never raced at this racetrack. He told me he lived an hour away and had not been here other than just to come watch races, so he's a rookie here at the Milwaukee Mile. There's the 2 truck. That's the CarQuest Team ASE Jimmy Smith on the machine. Jimmy and Marlene Smith for Scott Riggs, our points leader out of Bahama, North Carolina.
Looking back at Kurt Busch and the 99 truck, it seems like they've been together since the restart a bunch of laps ago. They've been together for a long time.
You see his 2 wins this year at Martinsville and Dover. This is the truck he won with at Martinsville. There is Kurt Busch and the Eldon Ford. That's the 99 truck for Kurt, being shown back in 8th position.
We talked earlier, Greg and I talked about how it looked like Kurt's truck was not turning as well as it needed to. I think Scott's actually fighting the same condition right now. You see him move way up in the center of the corner. We call that diamonding the corner. You see Scott on the outside there, and then tries to slide back towards the inside to exit the turn. But I think both trucks right now are fighting the same condition.
I bet you Jeff Campy, they call him Lumpy. I bet he and Max Jones will be making a slight adjustment on that truck maybe when they make their final stop. If they make a final stop here inside the last 70 laps. Here is the 88, the Luke Thorson-owned truck, the reigning Federal Southwest Series champion for Matt Crafton. Started back in 12th spot, currently being shown in the top 10 at night.
Hey, this team has been steady since about after 3 or 4 races of the season. They started finishing in the top 10 week after week, and they've been really a steady team. When they're running, they're always in the top 10.
Back in 10th position is the 17, the GMAC Chevrolet for Ricky Hendrick, 21 years of age, son of Rick Hendrick. Trying to get another top 10 finish. Let's check in his pits quickly with AB East.
Well, he's been complaining about a tight truck the entire time, just waiting for this race to be over. He's got a lot of help this weekend. David Green sat in his truck yesterday, also was saying that the truck was extremely tight. And today in turns 3 and 4, his dad, Rick Hendrick, and David Green are trying to help coach him when the yellow flag comes out on some things that he can do differently. His biggest complaint is the truck is chattering. Phil and Greg, maybe you guys can explain to everybody what they mean by when they say the truck is chattering.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know exactly how that feels. I raced with Greg a couple weeks ago at Kentucky Speedway, and that's the problem I had, and I actually talked to Greg about it quite extensively at the Memphis airport, him and Randy, trying to get some ideas on how to prevent that. But that's a tough situation. It seems like it's more prevalent this year, Greg, with the tires, the harder tires that Goodyear's bringing to the racetrack than it has been in the past.
Absolutely, and what they're talking about is the nose is just simply chattering across the racetrack. It won't turn, and the front tires just sliding up the racetrack. Tight here today.
Here's Lance Norrie coming off that great run at Memphis last week. He led 5 laps, and we mentioned John Monson has come on board with this team to help Paul Baumer and company in the Ron Norrie calling machine. The Adventist Bearing Chevrolet. Here's our Wagner race recap. Shows you the leader is Jack Sprague. Has led 131. No, don't adjust your sets at home. He has led 131 of 134 laps, folks. He's been that good. There have been 2 lead changes, 5 caution flags for a total of 21 laps. The average speed just a shade over 90 miles an hour. Our lap leader is Sprague, of course, and the 58 truck, which led during the caution flag, Chris Horn, out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the NASCAR Kids Multivitamin Chevrolet. Off the track, Randy Tolsman, you heard Amy talk to him a moment ago. They had engine trouble with their Peter Gall Pro Motors here. Tough break for Randy. Out of the race, Phil Bonneville, Gene Christensen, Bobby Hamilton Jr. making his first NASCAR Craftsman truck start. And the 2 has a problem. Headed for pit road, our points leader, Scott Riggs, slowly in the pits.
He's been against the wall there.
I think he's got looks like a flat left front tire, possibly.
Let's check in with you, Ray. What's the problem?
It was definitely a flat tire, Jerry. Scott had been on the radio saying bad vibration, guys. Last lap, bad vibration. So they're going to change right side tires on the ASE Dodge over here. Hopefully that will rectify it. Riggs has done a nice job of moving up, even though they fought a ill-handling truck all weekend here. But that vibration brings them to the pits here. Changing right side tires. Jason Overstreet gets that right front done. And well, they're not sure what's going on here, guys.
Well, just from watching him come down pit road, you would have thought the left front tire was down, the way the truck was pitched over in the front end. Now, there's markings on the right side of the truck.
Going behind the wall.
Ray, what's going on?
Well, Jerry, apparently they've got broken studs on that right front there. So with all those broken studs missing, there's no way that they can secure that tire. So they're going to have to bring it behind the wall and put some new studs in there. This is going to be very costly for our points leader. The second time this year that they've had major trouble. Of course, he crashed at Texas and lost a lot of points there. But after getting this truck a lot better than they've had it throughout the course of the weekend, this is going to be a big blow to our points leader.
And this will be a huge shakeup in the point standings for Riggs, who came in only 53. There's Bobby Dotter, who will get a sponsor on board next week at Kansas City. Tough break here for the Be Drug-Free Chevrolet for Bobby Dotter. They are behind the wall working on his machine. The Milwaukee State Fairgrounds here right behind the racetrack. Back in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, our current NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series points leader, Scott Riggs, behind the wall with a broken studs. Broken studs that are changing, looks like changing the whole spindle, guys. And coming off a 26th place finish at Texas 2 races ago, the best he could do now would be to come out and finish 25th. So there sits a disappointed Scott Riggs, and right now he is no longer the point leader.
That's really unfortunate. You could see the studs. There's actually 2 studs side by side on the hub. It's easier for them to change the whole hub than it is to try to change the studs. So that's what the guys are doing. But you see the Mopar guys. They're helping out. That's a team, just like Texas. When Scott had a problem, the Mopar guys were right in there digging with him. So it's a great team effort. But unfortunately for Scott, and the only way I think Greg and I were talking about during the break, the only way that those studs are going to break is if the wheel is loose and it allows the thing to slide back and forth, and eventually something's got to give way, and it looks like he broke a couple studs, and that's what put him behind the wall.
But better for that tire changer. Greg Biffle was talking a moment ago when that tire changer, right front tire changer, took that tire off, he stopped and looked like he'd seen a ghost, and he realized what he was seeing, that there were broken studs. Better for him to say, hey, we got a problem, rather than just bolt that tire on and forget about it, because about 4 laps later you may end up having a driver in the wall.
Absolutely, yeah. It was he was probably more disappointed that, he felt maybe the last pit stop he may have left the lug nuts loose, and that's what he was looking at.
There was also a NASCAR official right there, and that's part of his job. Number one is to make sure that guys hit all the lug nuts, but when there was 2 studs missing, the guy's obviously not going to hit all the lug nuts because there's not a stud to put it on there. So the NASCAR official was on top of the game right there too.
Indeed. We'll update you on Scott Riggs' progress in just a moment as they keep working on that truck behind the wall. Here's a battle for 10th spot. Lance Norrie in the number 90. the Venice Bearing Chevrolet. This team has really come to life in the last few weeks with the addition of as a consultant and now crew chief in John Monson. Lance Norrick, who led 5 laps last week at Memphis. There's a good battle for 6th position. Kurt Busch dived into the inside.
Able to get underneath Billy Bigley coming off turn 4, beat him down into turn number 1. We've talked about Kurt Busch's right side tires, how maybe he would have an advantage, and we thought earlier that maybe it wasn't, but now he's starting to march his way towards the front a little bit.
That's right. Those right side tires may show up late in the run, and that's where they would start making a difference late in the run. Is maybe what you're seeing here.
We saw that battle between Kenny Schrader and Lance Norrick for the 10th position. It's amazing that Kenny Schrader, as hard as those guys have worked because they were really struggling yesterday. They found a frozen upper control arm this morning. So Kevin Collins, the crew chief, said, I don't know where we stand. We know we got the truck fixed, but I don't know about the setup.
Take a look at Kurt Busch, our special guest of the week. Last week it was Greg Biffle. This week making an appearance in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action, Kurt Busch. 24 starts coming into this week. This will be his 25th start. 4 wins, 4 poles. He is still the youngest driver ever to win a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event. Won it here at Milwaukee last year at 21 years, 10 months, and 28 days of age. 13 top 5s, 16 top 10s. And he is the right now ranked 2nd in the Rebecca's Rookie of the Year point standings in Winston Cup. There's what came off the right front of Scott Riggs. Boy, that's ugly. Back to this in a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, riding along with Ted Musgrave in the Mopar Dodge. How about some RPM action? RPM today, tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 Pacific, and at RPM tonight at 10 Eastern Time. Whit Watson, your nightly source for motorsports news since 1996. For all the latest information on motorsports around the world, RPM tonight. That is RPM today and tonight, tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern and 10 Eastern Time tomorrow night. And by the way, next week, RPM will be at Kansas Speedway all week long. No helipads, no airports, in the racetrack at Kansas Speedway. Next week, we'll be there every night. How about some talent here? There's Eddie Wood on the right side of your screen. He is the father of John Wood. Eddie and Carol are the parents of John Wood. And to the left of him, Max Jones, pretty good race driver in and of himself. And now he's the team manager for Roush Racing's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series team. Watching the young man driving that 50 truck, that is 19-year-old John Wood.
Eddie Wood's son, Max, is actually spotting for John right now. And we talked to Eddie before the race, and Eddie's there doing what?
Eddie said, I'm spotting as a father. You're spotting as a spotter. I'm here as a dad. And I tell you what, Greg Biffle drove the 50 truck in happy hour yesterday trying to help John Wood. And I know, Greg, not only were you impressed with how well the truck was running, but this young man, in only his 2nd start in a Roush truck, is pretty impressive.
It is, and he's done a great job. And I got in the truck yesterday and drove it in happy hour, and he had the truck real stable. He had a pretty good package under it. He's got a truck that can probably run maybe up into the top 10 here today, but mainly run the whole race and get some experience. And that's what he's doing here, running with Coy Gibbs. He's gaining a ton of experience.
And this was one of your favorite trucks that you ran last year. I know you won at Pikes Peak and finished 2nd at Richmond and 3rd at Milwaukee. I mean, I guess a driver, you sort of get attached to a certain vehicle.
Yeah, I do. And this is, like you said, one of my favorite trucks right here. I've won over 6 races in this truck. And it's a great piece, and he's having a good run in it today.
When you drove it yesterday afternoon in happy hour, did they have to pry you out of the thing? Did you want to stay in it?
I did. You know, they're like, well, just one more lap, and you got to come in. You know, we might need those tires tomorrow if we have an accident or something. So, yeah, definitely, I wanted to stay in that thing.
I was standing in the pits when he climbed out, and he had this big smile. He said, "Man, I'd love to drive this thing. I think it's got to be a lot of fun." He certainly. How about the champions who've had some pretty good success at this racetrack? Take a look. The 2000 defending champion, Greg Biffle, won from the pole here in 1999. Ron Hornaday, the 2-time champion, won here in 97. Jack Sprague, a 2-time champion, won here in 96. Skinner, who won the initial NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series title, won here the very first year back in 1995. So pretty good omen. If you win here at Milwaukee, pretty good chance you're going to be a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion sometime.
So it's a pretty good truck right there. The 46 truck of Dennis Setzer that Jack Sprague just put a lap down.
That is the 13th place truck, so there's only 12 trucks now on the lead lap. As Jack Sprague is just that good in the Net Zero Platinum Chevrolet.
Well, that'll tell you week to week how these things change. You know, we saw Dennis Setzer in Winter Circle at Memphis. going a lap down on 13th today. So.
And this is a good racetrack for Dennis Setzer, too. He's run awfully well here.
There's 3 abreast.
That is Rick Crawford. That's no slouch, by the way. Crawford running awfully well and trying to hang on.
Looks like a little contact there. Jack got a little bit loose on the inside of Rick Crawford. They actually went down in the corner 3 wide. But Dennis Setzer trying to get back on the inside of Jack to get back on the lead lap. He's not able to do it.
Yeah, Crawford is a 12th place truck in the Milwaukee Electric Tools Ford, so he's trying to hang on here.
That was probably a move that Jack would like to take back. I don't think he needed to make it 3 wide there with this kind of a lead this late in the race.
Yeah, definitely not. That looked a little tight.
Saw them bypass Tom Carey Jr. in the 03 truck. He's running off, so it looks like he probably will make it back to the pits, but unfortunately he's falling out of contention here as he goes.
Boy, he's awful slow there. I don't know. Looks like he'll probably make it.
It's really a long way, though, to start the pit road from the exit of turn 4. So you see Scott Riggs, the 2 truck, back on the racetrack right now, collecting laps and trying to improve his position. Right now he's in the 26th position, and unless somebody has some trouble, that's probably about where he's going to end up. You see Rick Crawford, you see Jack Sprague pull right up on the tailgate of Rick Crawford, get him loose, get him sideways, and drive up underneath.
Oh man.
And that is Tom Carey. Tom Carey trying to get back to pit road, and we are told that the pit stops could be fairly close. They pitted on lap 90 the last time, so they could actually make it to about 170, I guess. They can make it about 80 laps, between 78 and 80 laps, so that would give us the 170 mark. So 6 to 10 laps away, we should begin seeing some leaders pit stops, which should be the final stop of the day.
It's a pretty good indication of this series, too, to see some green flag. Oh, here we go. Just when we talk about green flag pit stops, the caution flag comes out.
They got that 03 stuck on the entrance of pit road, I think, there.
Yeah, there's the crew pushing the EJP machine. And here is the Jimmy Hensley showing some smoke from beneath that machine.
He may have put some oil down on the racetrack, and that may be why NASCAR put the caution out to make sure that the track was clean.
That's the Randy and Merrill McDonald-owned Chevrolet. Hensley had a good run last week at Memphis, leading 5 laps, coming home with a top 15 finish. In fact, was running the top 10 with a few laps to go when they had the kill switch short out. It cost him about 5 or 6 spots in the final running order. Now they push his truck backwards and will head behind the wall.
Better to be safe than sorry. NASCAR saw the smoke from his truck, and better to make sure there's nothing on the racetrack, because you don't want any kind of problem. Greg can attest to what it's like to run in some oil when Jack Sprague broke his oil line last week. So these trucks are on the verge of being out of control anyway.
Now, Greg, this is the final pit stop. If we stay green, the final pit stop of the day. When you're as a driver, you're sitting in that seat knowing you got to get in and you got to get out in a hurry, that you could cost yourself the race.
Yeah, you definitely can, and they're trying to get the 72 off pit road there as they come down. But yeah, definitely this is going to be the key, who gets out first.
All right, let's go down to Amy in the Terry Cook pit.
Well, Terry Cook is in. He's wanting some water, and they're getting that to him now. They're going to scrape off the grill right side tires. They have had awesome pit stops all day, and this is the one that counts. Ray Dunlap.
Well, Amy, it'll be right side tires for both Jack Sprague and for Joe Ruttman and for the #1 truck. Sprague was a little bit over the line, so they had to back him up here. Ruttman also with problems, so it's going to be a slow stop for the 18. The #1 is going to come out right behind Sprague, and then the 60, but the 18 losing a number of spots here in the pits.
And some costly air time there in the 18 pit for Joe Ruttman. Terry Cook had a great stop, but unfortunately he was pitting way up pit road, and he got almost to the end of pit road, and Travis Quapple was able to get out in front of Cook as he's taking a look at the Dana Dodge for Joe Ruttman. This should be the final pit stop of the day. If we stay green, we are working caution for the 6th time due to oil on the racetrack. The Jimmy Hensley Chevrolet behind the wall. And there's the Dana crew assessing the damage after their stop. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, working caution for the 6th time a day. After a great run a week ago, Jimmy Hensley apparently had to call it a day. Oil from beneath his Merrill and Randy McDonald-owned Chevrolet, and he's standing by with our Amy East.
Jimmy, what took you out today?
Amy, I believe it was the transmission re-in and I could smell the grease. The truck had started vibrating for the last 30 laps. I knew something, a gear problem was starting to happen, but thought maybe we could nurse it out, and finish, but it didn't happen. With this McDonald Racing didn't have too good a day today, so I'll try again next week maybe.
Will we see you in the trucks for the rest of the season now?
Well, it's kind of week to week. You know, we're looking for sponsorship and just trying to get down a shoestring, you might say. And guys are doing a good job. And just, you know, sometimes this stuff breaks when you don't, have the funds to replace it.
That's to put it simple. That's right. It takes money to race, you guys, and Jimmy Hensley would sure like to get some for Randy McDonald's team and continue on with us in the Truck Series.
One of the most popular drivers in the whole series. We'd love to have Jimmy full-time. They are struggling with the McDonald's, trying to get sponsorship. We'd love to have Jimmy to be able to have a little more help in that truck to run like he ran last week at Memphis when he led the race. Getting set for the restart here after 4 laps of caution. Green flag waves on lap 168.
See Scott Riggs on the inside, who's a number of laps down, backed off, let his teammate Ted Musgrave get on down in the corner. This is the first time Ted Musgrave has been able to stick with Jack Sprague right after restart, because Terry Cook has always beat him out of the pits.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he's got anything for him, and he's up on his bumper now, so we'll see if...
He's up there trying to loosen him up. Hasn't worked yet. I think his best shot is to try to get him right after this restart, because once they start running some races, then Jack starts moving away. But if he could put Jack behind him, get Jack out of some clean air, then maybe he's got a shot at him.
Absolutely, and there it looks like he's got him on the inside.
Laps are winding down, 30 to go. Here is Musgrave on the inside of Sprague. No one's been able to muscle by Sprague under the green today. Can Musgrave do it in turn 3?
This is a critical time right here. This could be the pass. This could be the race right here between these two guys.
Absolutely. It looked like Musgrave's had a good truck all day and just never could get track position.
Great side window camera shot from the Mopar Dodge. Musgrave now pulls him by half a truck length.
You hear Jack Sprague pedal a little bit. He got on the outside. Ted was able to get by him.
And for the first time today, we've seen someone actually be able to go by the Net Zero Chevrolet. So Musgrave, a native of Wisconsin from nearby Franklin, leads it here at lap 171 in the Mopar Dodge.
Again, right now, for the first time, Jack Sprague is in some dirty air, so we'll see how his truck acts in dirty air. We know what it acts like in clean air. He just drives off and leaves the field.
Terry Cook having a pretty good battle back there, trying to get by Travis Quapple.
John Wood in trouble down there. Saved it.
He saved it and spun it back around.
Hold the brakes, John. Hold the brakes. There you go.
Still keeps it out of the wall, and the caution will wave indeed for the 7th time. He did a heck of a job. He was sideways going into 1. He saved it, and the truck looked like he just swapped ends and came around.
Yeah, I think that he went in there next to another guy on the underneath side of it and got loose and got up into John, and they both almost got around. And I'm not sure who it was.
John did a good job to keep the truck out of the wall.
See if we can show you what happened. Greg Biffle was commenting a moment ago. Let's watch the 50 truck on the right side and Tom Carey on the inside in the 03.
You see Tom, he's way up into the second groove there. Didn't leave John much room, so he got up into John. You see him there, almost have it saved, but you see the wheels turn to the right. The truck finally catches, and around it goes back the other way. We call that overcorrecting, but he was able to keep it out of the wall. You see him getting the wheel spinning, getting going. He didn't want to stay there long.
And he still didn't touch anything. Gets it back in gear, puts it back in first gear, and drives away. So great effort by a driver in only his 3rd ever NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series start at 19 years of age. Talking about John Wood, the son of Eddie and Carol Wood. His dad here on top of the grandstands. And here are the 2 regular Roush Series drivers. That's Nathan Hosley in the center of your screen, and to the left with the sunglasses on, that's Chuck Hosfeld. They are basically rookie quarterbacks, have been pulled out of the game, stood on the sidelines for a couple of weeks to watch and learn from some of the veterans. But they were the 2 winners this year when the Roush Gong Show took place and determined who was going to be the drivers and take over for the Killer Bees, Biffle and Bush, and they put them in the trucks, and now they brought Greg Biffle back last week and Kurt Busch back this week to try to figure out if they can get these trucks dialed in for those 2 guys to get back in. Here comes John Wood down pit road for a pit stop, and toward you, Amy East.
And although there is no cosmetic damage to the Eldon Ford, he did indeed, put a little wear on those tires. So they're going to give him some fresh left side rubber, and they're going to send him right back out and get some valuable laps for this young rookie. So now he was blocked in by Rick Crawford. Crawford, who also made an unexpected pit stop. They've gone underneath the number 14 Milwaukee Electric Tool Ford. Unfortunate for him here with all the Milwaukee fans, but they are looking as though something may be leaking. They actually are looking upwards, more towards in the master cylinder area, possibly a brake problem. It's hard to tell from this angle, but we will touch base with the 14 team and find out exactly what the problem is for Rick Crawford.
Rick Crawford as we ride along with the Jelly Belly Chevrolet for Jim Englebright. Back with the final laps from Milwaukee in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, less than 25 laps to go. In fact, make it 23 to go as Ted Musgrave and the Mopar Dodge is showing the way. That's Sprague in the 24 Chevrolet, the Net Zero Chevrolet in second spot. How about Travis Quapple in the Cat Reynolds Chevy in third? So a couple of Wisconsin natives running first and third. And the locals are got to be loving this as they're watching the seventh visit to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here to the Milwaukee Mile. Let's check into the pits quickly with Amy.
Well, Travis Quapple from nearby Janesville, Wisconsin, he shared a really interesting story with me, and I hate to do this to Ted Musgrave and age him here a bit, but back in the 80s, young Travis Quapple, who was just a kid back then, sat in the stands here at the Milwaukee Mile and watched Ted in some ASA races, and he said, you know, it's kind of neat if you think about it. I'm going to be out there racing with him today, and not only is he racing with him today, he is right there racing with Ted. So what a thrill it is for Travis Quapple to be out there with one of his favorites from back in the 80s.
Oh, indeed, it has to be a thrill riding with Ted Musgrave, and the Musgrave name synonymous with success up here. His dad, Elmer, who ran ARCA and USAC stocks back in the early 60s for the Factory Mercury team. Looking at Travis Quapple. Here's Terry Cook and another Ford back, the 29 car truck back in fourth spot.
Good race right now, side-by-side battle between Joe Rubbin and the 18 on the inside. Kenny Schrader at 52. As much trouble as Kenny Schrader had yesterday. It's amazing he's up there running in the 7th position, racing for 7th with Joe Rubbin.
That's Scott Riggs on board camera. Scott is actually being shown 26 laps behind, back in 26th position, but he gives you a great angle on that Ruttman-Schrader battle. Kenny Schrader making his 4th start of the year in NASCAR Craftsman trucks. Finished 2nd at Darlington in this same truck. Finished 7th at Dover, Delaware.
Joe able to make the pass to move up into the 7th position. It's Matt Crafton in the 88 truck, right in front of Joe Rubbin. That's the 6th position.
Great run for Crafton in 6th spot. His best finishes have been 6th twice this year at Pikes Peak in Martinsville. Has had 6 top 10 finishes in the last 7 outings, so another great run for the Fast Track driveway sealer. What color would you call that? Sort of a combination yellow?
I don't know. I think it's yellow.
I got a garage that color for Matt Crafton, being shown in 6th position.
Whoa! Kurt Busch drove down in the side of Corey Gibbs going down the front stretch. That was probably one of those things like you should have let me go the lap before that. Corey being a lap down right now. He's in a 12th position, though, a lap down. There's only 10 trucks right now in the lead lap. You got Dennis Setzer in the 46 truck is 11th. Corey Gibbs is 12th.
Now looking at Kurt Busch in the 99. I showed you that contact just a moment ago.
Kurt coming off turn 4 there. I think he's noting his displeasure with Corey right there for probably racing him too hard. The fact that Corey's a lap down, but you got to learn sometime. And Corey's racing with the best out there today.
Kurt Busch talking about the history that come into this racetrack. He said his grandfather used to bring his dad here, and his dad was little. His grandfather would set his dad up on the top of the bleachers and let him go to sleep. There's the 20, very, very wide. I wonder if he's may have a tire going down or something after some contact a moment ago with Kurt Busch.
Look, they just went in the corner, got a little bit wide, got it in the loose stuff we talked about earlier, and you don't have a whole lot of grip down there. So he gets back down in at least in the second groove, and he looks to be okay.
Coy Gibbs being shown in 13th spot, 1 lap down after coming off that career equaling best finish of 5th at Memphis last Saturday. Meanwhile, back up front, Ted Musgrave, 45-year-old driver from Franklin, Wisconsin, driving for Jim Smith of the Ultra Motorsports team, trying to get his 4th win here in 2001. His first ever full-time season in NASCAR Craftsman truck action. into the Milwaukee Mile. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action exclusively on ESPN here on the Worldwide Leader. I'm Jerry Punch along with Phil Parsons, Amy East, and Ray Dunlap, and we are pleased to have join us a special guest, the reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. He's been with us most of the afternoon as an expert analyst, Greg Biffle, here in the booth. And Greg and Phil, you guys are watching this one truck, and it looks like he's pretty good, but there's a difference between him and Sprague at different ends of the racetrack.
It looks like Jack's actually a little bit better in 3 and 4. Right now they're down in turn 1 and they're in turn 3 and 4. Jack's a little bit better in turn 3 and 4, but Ted's a little bit better in turn 1 and 2. So opposite ends of the racetrack, the trucks do different things.
Yeah, it looks like the 24's been struggling just the last couple laps. It looks like he's real tight. May have a problem. He's just really falling off of the 1 just in the last couple laps, but he's really beating him down the backstretch, getting that good run off of 2, Musgrave is, and the 24 reels him back in some down here.
Talked to Jack this morning, and he said his truck was really good. Obviously, it was the fastest truck in happy hour, but he said he was a little bit tight in the center, and that right now may be what's keeping it from catching Ted Musgrave.
Well, Sprague was our pole sitter and led twice for 167 laps. Take a look. The intervals fairly consistent there, about half a second. Just a little over half a second the last few laps between Musgrave and Sprague.
Yeah, I think the trucks are pretty equal. Again, we talked about one truck being better in one end, the other truck being better in the other end, but overall, lap time-wise, they're pretty equal. Now, Jack's going to get caught with some lap trucks right here, so that's going to hurt him a little bit. He's got to go around the outside of some lap trucks, so he's probably going to open the lead up a little bit for Ted Musgrave.
Let's check in the Musgrave pits with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, this race may have been won today for Ted Musgrave by his spotter, Eddie Thrapp. The last pit stops came at lap 166. On 164, the crew chief, Fred Wanke, had called Ted Musgrave to the pits, said, let's get in here and put some tires on him. They were coming out of turn 4, about to go down pit road, when the spotter said, stay out, stay out. The 03 is slow down the backstretch, and that pulled the caution. Musgrave would have been on pit road and would have been caught a lap down. So the spotter, very, very important in this sport, but he really saved the day today for Ted Musgrave.
You know, Eddie Thrapp has been around a long time spotting. He spotted for Ben Hur that last Chariot race, and he kept Ben out when Ben wanted to come in and change horses.
He actually spotted for me in my Winston Cup win at Talladega, but Eddie's got a pretty big head anyway, so we don't want to give him much credit because he won't be able to get in the building.
Right. No, not at all. 7 laps to go, but a great call by Eddie Thrapp. 7 laps to go for Ted Musgrave, who won 3 of the first 5 events this year in NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action. Musgrave wins coming in Homestead, Mesa Marin, and Gateway out in St. Louis.
He's got a little bit over a second lead right now on Jack Sprague. Jack got caught, as we mentioned, by those lap trucks, had to pass him on the outside down in turn 3 and 4. His lead went from a little over a half a second to now a little bit over a second. So with only 6 laps to go, it's going to be awfully difficult for Jack Sprague to catch Ted Musgrave.
Unless there's an unforeseen caution, it looks like, definitely looks like Musgrave's got the truck today.
So we know in this series that it's never over till it's over because we do not finish under caution typically. So.
I remember Memphis a year ago where was a guy that was leading on the white flag lap, and he went into 1 and it slipped up, and I think his initials were Greg Biffle, by the way.
I remember that. I remember that. It wasn't a good day for Joe Ruttman, and they had oil cooler knocked off the front of it, and he got back out with on the white flag lap and got a little fluid down, and I got down into turn 1 and slipped up a little bit, and it just cost me a win.
Let's check in down in the pits with Amy.
Well, Fred Wanke, you're just a couple laps away from being back on top. It's been some tough weeks here lately for you guys. What will this mean to you with Ted being the hometown favorite?
Well, I'll tell you, the Mopar Dodge this is the same one we had at Darlington and last week at Memphis. So we've been up and down, but the guys at Arrington's, they put this motor on kill today. They said, we're going for it. Matt, Charlie, the guys at the shop, they rebuilt this truck from last week. We had a good stop on the last stop, and Ted, I don't know how Ted got around him. He done something, though. This is just unbelievable. We have fought it and fought it and fought it. Here we are.
That's right. Well, Fred Wanke's telling you guys the story. They have been fighting lately, and this will be really big for the Mopar Dodge to be back in victory lane.
Well, over a second and a half separation now between Musgrave, the leader, as he moves by Larry Gunzelman in the 63 truck. 2 laps to go for Ted Musgrave, trying to get his 4th win of the year. He mentioned this is the truck they ran at Darlington when they had the window net come down. They had all kinds of problems at Darlington. They finished 31st. Last week at Memphis, they had brake problems recurrently, not only during qualifying, but on race day. He came from 21st and finished 6th. And today they bring this truck to Milwaukee for a Milwaukee native, Ted Musgrave out of Wisconsin native, Ted Musgrave out of Franklin, Wisconsin, who is 2 laps away, now making 1 lap away from getting his 4th win here in the 2001 season.
You know, this will have to be a big thrill for Ted Musgrave to win basically his home track and in a NASCAR series like the Craftsman Truck Series.
He's a 5-time Winston Cup pole winner. He's finished 2nd in Cup races at Darlington and Martinsville, driving for Jack Roush. But today, it's Jimmy Smith, who's the owner, the Ultra Motorsports team, Fred Wanke, who rents this truck. And coming off of turn 4, 45-year-old Ted Musgrave will take the win in the GNC Live Well 200 at the Milwaukee Mile. When we come back, we'll talk to Ted. It's got to be an emotional victory for Musgrave winning back in his native Wisconsin. Back to Victory Lane in just a moment. Back at the Milwaukee Mile, I'll bet there'll be a party in Franklin, Wisconsin tonight. Let's go down to Victory Lane and talk to the winner, Ted Musgrave.
Well, Jerry, I think the thing that's most fun about this is to hear this crowd up here as Ted Musgrave gets up on the Mopar Dodge. This crowd is absolutely going crazy. The Wisconsin fans, Ted gets out, the old Gatorade shower. How in the world did you do that? Sprague was dominant all day long. Then you made the pass. Tell us about it.
Man, I don't know. I couldn't catch him. I was doing everything I possibly could. I told Fred, I said, there's nothing I can do here. I said, don't even change the truck. I'm running as hard as I can. I don't think we ran any faster. I think Jack had a bad set of tires there at the end, and it just played in my hands. I mean, he was just awesome. I couldn't do nothing, but the old Mopar team just held in there. You know, like I said, I told Fred, just let's not get excited. Hopefully, maybe it'll come to us. And that's from my late dad, man, winning here at Milwaukee.
Absolutely, and that great pit stop call there. You about came onto the pits when that last yellow came in.
I think maybe Fred was just doing that on the radio to kind of fool everybody else down pit road. I knew we weren't going to come in. Come on. We're smarter than that.
All right, okay. Ted Musgrave gained some points today here at Milwaukee. The big winner is 4th of the season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Got to be an emotional win. He lost his dad, Elmer, last September. His dad, who was his hero, and, of course, the man who taught him everything he knows about racing. Here's the unofficial results. We had 10 trucks finishing on the lead lap with Dennis Setzer, the last truck, the first truck a lap down. You see Musgrave, Sprague, Quapple, Cook, and Bush in the top 5. Now back 16 through 30. You see that, by the way, Sprague led the most laps. That's the 2 arrows to the right side of the screen. And you see that the 58 truck of Chris Horn also led. Lance Norrie finishing in 17th. There is Riggs, the points leader, finishing back in 24th position, 26 laps back. And that will certainly jumble up the points, which we'll tell you about when we come back in just a little bit. We'll come back and wrap it up here from Milwaukee as the GNC Live Well 200 is history and Ted Musgrave is celebrating. Our ESPN coverage of exciting NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action from the Milwaukee Mile has been brought to you by Wagner. The Wagner Power Roller turns an ordinary room into an extraordinary room. By CarQuest Auto Parts. You'll find it at CarQuest. And by the Auto Vent Shade Company, maker of the original vent visor and other quality products. Auto Vent Shade. You're only as cool as your shades. Let's check in down with Amy East, who's standing by with our runner-up finisher.
Well, he may have been the runner-up, but man, you were dominant all race. What happened on that last run, though? Something must have changed for you for Ted to get by you.
Well, I tell you, the guys did a great job. The Net Zero Platinum Chevrolet was awesome again. Can't say enough for them guys. Great pit stops. Everything was great. Last set of tires we put on the right side there, we just made the truck miserable. It was loose in tight in the middle and loose off, and I couldn't do anything with it. I thought I'd come around. I thought he'd get me, or when he got me, I thought I could get back by him in 5 laps or so because the truck had been so fast all day, but it continuously got worse. So we'll go to Kansas City, see if we can get him. It's a lot better than last week.
That's right. It is better for Jack Sprague. And Ray Dunlap standing by with another hometown favorite. Ray?
Absolutely, Amy, and that'd be Travis Quapple. Great run today. Best finish for the Addington Racing team. You bring home a 3rd today. Tell us about all the adjustments you made. Looked like this truck just got better and better.
Yeah, we made some good improvements in happy hour last night and got a pretty good starting for us. Pretty good setup for the start of the race. You know, we just rode it out, and pit stops were key today. The Cat Rental Store team did a good job. Track position at this type of racetrack, it's real hard to pass. That last pit stop, they got me out third. I think they picked me up 3 spots on the last stop. So that's what it's all about. It's definitely a team effort and a good run for us. We've been struggling the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was a good run, and 300 people here for hospitality today. Now let's go back to Amy.
Well, Terry Cook, you finished 4th. Good all day, good pit stops, good run.
It was great. The Cat Automotive Ford F-150 was just awesome all day. Pit crew got us in and out of the pits. We're looking for big things with our new Power Stroke diesel sponsorship going to Kansas next week.
That's right. Next week, he'll be carrying new colors and a new truck for Terry Cook.
And Ford still winless here in 2001 despite some great runs by some Ford competitors. Take a look at the point standings after 11 events, and Joe Ruttman will take over the point lead. Scott Riggs has led since the second race of the year at Homestead. Ruttman by a scant 6 points over Riggs, who finished back in 24th position. There is Sprague still back in third. Now Sprague gaining on it big time. He's only 59 back from second spot. You see Musgrave, the winner, back in fourth. Ricky Hendrick, Quapple, Cook, Crawford, Setzer moves to ninth spot, and Matt Crafton moves back into the top 10 here after being out of the top 10 after Memphis last week. Our next race, we go out to Kansas City. At Kansas City, here we come. The O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman trucks. You folks out there, thank you so much, you loyal NASCAR fans who have waited patiently out in Iowa and Kansas and Missouri. What a great facility you've got to enjoy now. The 1.5 mile Kansas Speedway. We'll be there next week for NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action, of course, on Saturday. And, of course, the Indy Racing League teams are there on Sunday. We'll be there at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific next Saturday. For more on the O'Reilly Auto Parts 250, log on to ESPN.com. Phil Parsons, a pretty impressive day today for not only Jack Sprague, who had a tough day, but how about Ted Musgrave and the crew celebrating with a very special win?
But, Doc, we never thought anybody was going to be able to beat Jack Sprague all weekend, but Ted Musgrave was able to do it right after that last restart, opened up to about a 1.5, 2-second lead, and won the race.
For Phil Parsons, Ray Dunlap, Amy East, and our very special guest, reigning NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Greg Biffle, I'm Jerry Punch. Once again, congratulating Ted Musgrave on his win in today's GNC Live Well 200. Next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, next Saturday, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 250 coming your way from Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Missouri. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.